Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. A massive next couple of days for our Michigan Wolverines on the recruiting trail as they're set to host a ton of top targets, not only in the 2025 class, but also in the 2026 class. I want to take a few minutes and really focus on three targets in the 2025 class that will be on campus for this Michigan program. Got to talk about one, what they could bring to this Michigan program, but I think more importantly, what are Michigan's chances at landing some of these names? Really fired up to get into this one. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the Michigan fans. Many of you guys know I'm a massive Michigan fan myself. I love talking the recruiting trail. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown over the last couple of weeks in the middle of the summer, talking recruiting with the boys. We appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one now. The official visitor list for this barbecue at the Big House is absolutely insane. Not only a couple massive 2025 targets, but the amount of talent that is making their way to Ann Arbor in the 2026 cycle. You can tell Michigan is going to operate a little bit differently on the recruiting trail. A ton of visitors, a ton of talent, a ton of guys in the top 100 nationally that will be on campus, which will help us 12 months from now when we're talking about the 2026 class. But right now, I want to focus on the 2025 guys, the guys I know best. Haven't really gotten into much film of the 2026 crop yet. I want to start with a wide receiver that we've briefly talked about over the last couple of weeks, but I think things are heating up for Michigan and five-star wide receiver Jerome Myles from the state of Utah. And kind of a fascinating recruitment for Jerome Myles, was committed to Ole Miss, decides to decommit, and Ron Bellamy really taking advantage of the door getting back open for Jerome Myles. Now, you talk about the football player in Jerome Myles. I could sell the Michigan fans quite quickly on Jerome Myles at 6'2", 205. He runs a 10.36 in the 100-meter dash, one of the fastest prospects in this 2025 class. And what have us Michigan fans talked about in terms of what kind of players we want from the high school ranks? We want guys that can manufacture explosive plays on the offensive side of the football. Jerome Myles is one of those guys. Now, he only played 5 games as a junior, but he averaged over 25 yards per reception, scored a touchdown on almost 30% of his catches as a junior. This is a kid that can work vertically down the field. He can operate with the football in his hands. And I think at the end of the day, a 6'2", 205, a massive frame for wide receiver, and then also is the fastest wide receiver in the class. There's just not that many defensive backs that are going to be able to deal with what Jerome Myles brings to the table. We're going to have quarterback commit Carter Smith in there. We're going to have Brady Hart on campus as well. I wonder if the Michigan quarterbacks can really build that relationship with Jerome Myles. And again, it's really hard to get a sense of how good of a shot Michigan has for Jerome Myles. The one thing I will say is it doesn't seem like Jerome Myles is that concerned with what kind of offense that he goes into. Because you look at some of the top competitors for Jerome Myles, Utah. Utah's not necessarily a prolific passing attack. In fact, Utah, Michigan kind of based their offense off a lot of similar concepts. So it sounds like Jerome Myles is not just interested in going to an offense that's going to throw 70% of the game. I think that helps Michigan in terms of their chances to land Jerome Myles, because the one thing that probably holds Michigan back in terms of landing these caliber wide receivers is what their offense looks like and the potential limited opportunities for wide receivers. You got Carter Smith, Brady Hart locked in. I feel like the quarterback play has a really good outlook for Michigan. I am fascinated to see if Michigan can get in it for Jerome Myles, one of my favorite wide receivers in the 2025 cycle. Next one we got to talk about, our kind of crown jewel, if you will, at the wide receiver spot, Andrew Marsh. It really sounds like Michigan has a massive opportunity here for Andrew Marsh. And what I love most about Andrew Marsh, and we'll keep it short because we've talked a lot about Andrew Marsh for those who are new, Andrew Marsh is just one of the best wide receivers in this class from a polished standpoint. If you told me pick a wide receiver that you need to be ready to go as a true freshman, Andrew Marsh is going to be at the top of the list. Yes, he's a solid frame. Yes, he has some solid straight line speed. This kid is just a polished wide receiver. He knows how to get in and out of his route concepts. He knows how to create separation. He can operate with the football in his hand. This kid is just a box checker at the wide receiver position. And If you guys remember, he canceled his official visit to Oklahoma, came up to Michigan. I believe this will be his third or fourth visit in Ann Arbor over the last couple of months. It sounds like Michigan is gaining a ton of momentum for Andrew Marsh. And, this is the opportunity with Michigan having a ton of their commits in 2025 on campus to really seal the deal for Andrew Marsh. And I'm not saying that we're going to get a commitment announcement out of the weekend, but I think there is a really good chance that Michigan can wrap this one up over the weekend, and then he'll probably announce on his own time. And I think the last one I want to talk about, and a guy that I really could see Michigan leaving this weekend with a commitment, is four-star cornerback Jayden Sanders. 6'2", 172. He's a three-sport athlete, but also plays track and basketball. We talk about what we want in our cornerbacks, the three pillars. We want guys that are long, 6'2", 175. He's certainly long. We want guys that can run fast straight down the field. You got to be able to run with wide receivers. He can certainly do that with his track and field background. And then you want guys with ball skills. So Jayden Sanders, he's long at 6'2", plays really good in press man coverage. He's a guy that can work vertically down the field with some of the fastest wide receivers that he's going to see. And then he has the ball skills. This is a guy that plays two ways at the high school level, has significant experience at the wide receiver position. What's going to help those ball skills, also plays basketball. We talk about cornerbacks that there's a reason they play cornerback, because they can't catch the ball, they can't play the football in the air. Jayden Sanders is one of those guys that he's not just playing cornerback because he can't deal with the football in the air. This kid shows some big-time ball skills down the field as well. He always gets his head around, meets the football at its highest point. Jayden Sanders is dripping with potential. This kid is a smooth mover, 4'6", 175. I would love to see this one get done for Michigan as well, which Michigan's kind of looking to fill out that cornerback class. We have a loaded safety class with guys like Ivan Taylor, Keona Winston. We're looking at the cornerback spot. I think Jayden Sanders is one of, if not one of the top prospects for Michigan at the cornerback spot. This would be a massive land for this Michigan program. And to kind of close it out, and we've talked about this extensively. We talked about this all the way back in January when Sherrone Moore took this job. Things are going to look a lot different, right? Sherrone Moore is not going to change everything about this Michigan program. There's a reason that we've won 3 straight Big Ten championships. There's a reason Michigan is the defending national champions. Sherrone Moore is going to keep the stuff that has worked for Michigan, but he's going to do it his own way. And one of the things that is his own way is a little bit revamped on the recruiting trail, where I think Sherrone Moore probably agrees with a lot of us. We look at this Michigan program and say, there's a lot of meat left on the bone in terms of what Michigan can do on the recruiting trail. We are certainly seeing Sherrone Moore, this Michigan program, just get a little bit more aggressive on the recruiting trail, and it's paying off in terms of the talent that's coming into this Michigan program. We'll keep you guys updated as usual with what goes on with Michigan on the recruiting trail. If we got any commitments to break down over the weekend, we certainly will be doing that as well. Appreciate y'all rocking with the fellas. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later.